I recently traveled to Chicopee, Massachusetts to take part in Under the Dice Fest, a 2-day celebration of one of the greatest games ever made, Mordheim. It was an event like no other, filled with beautiful terrain, incredible minis, good people, music, and all kinds of other fun. It represented what happened when the community not only keeps an old game alive, but takes it to the next level. This is the second annual New England Mordheim Open, Under the Dice Fest. I drove down to Chicopee to Under the Dice Fest by myself, braving the long journey from my home in Toronto, Canada to get to Chicopee, which was a long drive, but allowed me to bring a full table of terrain to contribute to the event. If you've been watching this channel a while, you'll probably know some of my Mordheim terrain, as I've posted tutorials and videos on this channel about it for years. I did, however, make an extra piece just for this event, and it wasn't finished at the time I arrived, so on the first night I met up with some friends and did some last minute painting to get it ready for the table. Although it was last minute, I figured it was better to get something done than to leave it unrealized. With some paint on my model, I headed back to the hotel to rest because the event started bright and early the next day. The event was hosted in the local Legion, and as soon as I stepped in the venue, I was blown away. People had traveled from far and wide to attend, and a huge number of people brought incredible scratch-built tables to the event for everyone to enjoy. Look at some of these tables. I couldn't believe the incredible turnout. In the last few years, the level of talent and creativity in the community has gone through the roof. There were so many interesting and unique approaches to capturing the atmosphere of Mordheim. There were sewers, caves, shipwrecks, towers, walls, dungeons, docks, just so many incredible corners of the City of the Damned, from the imaginations of dozens of passionate hobbyists. It was incredibly inspiring to see so many wonderful projects all in one place. As I mentioned, I brought an entire table of my own terrain as well. Some of you may recognize some of the pieces I've made on this channel. It was really fun getting it set up and seeing how it contrasts and stacks up with the incredible other tables in the room. Whenever I bring my Warband anywhere, I bring a model ship, but there wasn't really a good place to set it up on my table. But I got talking to the guy with the table right next to me, and he had a perfect little harbor area where my ship and dock felt nicely at home. It was really cool seeing them on another table, just fitting in so well. I had a great time walking around the venue, chatting with people about their projects. I got a ton of incredible ideas and learned a bunch of new techniques as well. It was almost overwhelming, really. One of my personal favorites was the table brought by Tyler from Planet Piss. Mordheim is most often played on a 4-foot by 4-foot board, but Tyler chose to make a really dense 2-foot by 2-foot board, with one quarter dominated by a gigantic ruined library. The whole piece was filled with incredible details. Inside the library, the shelves and tables were covered in books and scrolls and curios, and Tyler even modeled a tiny Mordheim rulebook sitting discarded on the floor where a looter had thrown it away. The main floor was wallpapered with tarot cards, giving them a really interesting and sophisticated look. But my favorite detail of all had to be on the outside, where Tyler had set up a system of zip lines that players could use to zip from building to building. Really fantastic work. To be honest, I probably would have been happy just looking at boards all weekend, but there was a 3-round tournament to play. So the matchups were drawn randomly, and in my first matchup, I ended up getting paired up against my friend Dylan, who's one of the creators of Cauldron, which is an exciting new skirmish game that I've never played but have built a board for. So, Cauldron is an orc and goblin based skirmish game, so naturally Dylan brought an orc warband. I'd originally planned on bringing a Bretonnian warband, but ended up bringing my faithful Stallions. We played on a table centered around what I've been calling the Square of the Kneeling Man. I was so excited that I didn't film too much of it, but I did get this moment of a jumping charge from my captain onto an orc that had cornered him into a building. That was pretty cool. Mostly Dylan brought his orcs into the middle, and I shot him to bits, and I ended up winning. Nice. By the way, if you're ever traveling with miniatures, a great way to ensure that they arrive intact is to magnetize their bases. I use magnets from today's sponsor, the Magnet Baron. The Magnet Baron makes a wide range of high quality magnets, and you can see how just one magnet on the bottom of the base is enough to keep the miniature stationary through a lot of jostling and jiggling. The Magnet Baron's whole website is tailored to miniature wargamers and their use cases, so it's really easy to find what you're looking for. So go check them out and get yourself some. Thanks Magnet Baron for sponsoring this video. In my second match, I played against a really cool Cult of the Possessed. It was full of brilliantly painted Slaanesh models with some lovely details. My favorite was these two minotaurs wearing these hot pink leather harnesses. We played a breakthrough scenario where my opponent had to run off my table edge to win, and with the volume of shooting weapons I had, it was a tough matchup for my opponent. After a well-fought attempt, my opponent bottled out, opting to save some strength in his warband for the third match. 2 victories so far. Hell yeah. In the final match, my boys had to assault an undead warband in the center of a ruined outskirt. My 2 prior victories had earned me enough gold to hire an ogre, who distinguished himself by leaping off a ledge onto a dog, but Cole's hideous vampire was too much for my beleaguered adventurers, and they ended their journey in the City of the Damned with a crushing defeat. Overall, I went 2-1, which I can't complain about at all because I had a blast. With the tournament finished, all the participants laid out their warbands for everyone to look at and vote for their favorite. The lighting conditions weren't perfect for filming, but I'll show you a few of my favorites. One of the coolest things about seeing everyone's models was the incredible diversity of the entries. When it was first released, there were only a few warbands you could play as, but over the years the community has added rules for dozens of others, and players can take that one step further by creating other factions that simply use the rules of one of the existing warbands. This gives hobbyists immense creative freedom to make nearly anything they want, and it's awesome to see. Some of the participants used newer Games Workshop miniatures, slotting in characters from the existing Age of Sigmar and Underworlds ranges, while others brought original models, rare and long since discontinued. It was cool to see some of the old Casualty models even made an appearance. Others still brought warbands of entirely third-party miniatures, or kit-bashed together weird and original creations. There were all sorts of painting styles on display too, from grim and gritty to crisp and classic. Some people even had some incredible display bases ready to place their minis on. Personally, I really enjoyed how this one dwarf warband was displayed in a tight formation. I can just imagine them marching through the ruined streets like this. These treasure hunters from Araby in particular caught my eye, with their bright silks and exotic weapons. These gorgeous classic dwarves were one of my favorites as well. First prize, though, went to this Marauders of Chaos warband, which featured a wicker man and a bunch of warrior maidens dressed for some sort of unholy solstice ritual. The original concept, the creativity, and the attention to detail, and all the beautiful little elements for your eyes to find made this a well-deserved choice for number 1. So cool. Now with the tournament done, the weekend was far from over. As evening set in, people took the opportunity to have some casual pickup games, and some live music was set up as well. There's something so sick about playing fantasy war games while Dungeon Synth plays live in the background. Day 2 was a lot less structured, and the venue was opened up for people to play all kinds of other war games. Some people played Marvel Crisis Protocol, I saw some people playing Hero Quest, my friend Mike was playing a travel-sized version of Warhammer the Old World made with tiny little 3D printed minis. The Wire brothers set up some games of their grimdark Vestarian setting, and I got the chance to play Flames of Orion, a streamlined mech fighting game written by my friend Steve. I really liked it. Within 30 minutes I was able to read the rules, create a roster of mechs, and play a game. For many years now, I've convinced myself that I don't have the bandwidth to get into indie games or any other game systems outside of the stuff made by Games Workshop. But the fact that I was able to play Flames of Orion so quickly and have so much fun kind of broke something in my mind. It turns out that a lot of smaller games out there actually have a much lower barrier to entry, which is something I can definitely get behind. Since this event, my friend Rory bashed together some mechs for me to use with Flames of Orion using traditional mech bits and also some organic materials. I put some paint on them and I think they're awesome. Rory also accidentally sort of discovered my dark secret that I've been trying to hide from you guys on the channel, which is that I get extremely grumpy when I'm hungry, so here he is giving me a cookie. Very smart and thoughtful man, that Rory. By the way, if you think Into the Dice Fest looks cool, Rory is actually hosting an event somewhat like this pretty soon called Into the Dungeon Fest on August 3rd and 4th in Calgary, Alberta. It's going to have a Mordheim tournament, Magic the Gathering, and Idols of Torment 2, which is my friend Jeremy's game from Black Magic Craft. If you're in the area, I highly recommend you attend. Overall, Into the Dice Fest was an insanely inspiring event. There was so much else going on all around too. There were tattoo artists set up, tattooing flash designs on people, there was good food and drink, and there were lots of really cool vendors selling all kinds of treasures. I really enjoyed flipping through some of the old tabletop magazines and rulebooks, and I bought these really cool old books from old game systems. Somebody even set up a really cool photo booth display so that people could get good photos of their warbands. I wish I had the presence of mind to put my guys on there. Oh well. There was also a giant kit bashing event, where anyone and everyone could come pick through a huge assortment of old miniature bits to make some fantastic creations. There were long tables set up with glue, clippers, putty, and anyone interested just had at it at their own pace. There was everything from relatively normal dioramas to weird shark-like creatures and giant walking mechs. I really enjoyed seeing all the wild and weird things that people made when given the freedom and time to just let their inner creativity come out. There was also a prize awarded for the best Mordheim table, and the winner was Blur's, whose table was incredibly cool and I unfortunately didn't get very good footage of, but it was a spectacularly grand and twisted vision of Mordheim that I'd never seen the likes of before. Blur's is an extremely talented and creative guy, and luckily he's got a YouTube channel that you guys can go check out. I'll link that below. I think he just posted a really cool Necromunda creation. I'm always really excited to see what he has up his sleeve. This event was all hosted by the guys over at Hive Scum, specifically Gage, Steve, and Paul, who in addition to being great guys and talented hobbyists, have built an incredible community not just in their local area but online as well. I got a chance to hang out with so many cool people, some that I had met before, some who I knew from their work online, and some who I only just met. And this is the real story of the weekend. Mordheim is a game that hasn't been supported in any official capacity for nearly 2 decades. Without this community, Mordheim would just be another dead game. These days, people often talk about the ills of social media, and certainly living terminally online can have its downsides. I think many people struggle to some degree over the past years with feelings of isolation in the post-2020 world, where working remotely and stuff is more and more common. But if I've learned one thing over the past few years, it's that the internet makes it extremely easy to find other people who share your extremely niche interests, and that while internet friendships may seem artificial, when you meet up with your online friends in real life, it's abundantly clear that internet friends are real friends. Communities that are built online can and do translate extremely well to real life. It's a wonderful thing to see. So if you're somebody who engages with the hobby mostly online, that's great, and you should keep doing that. But just know that if you ever want to venture out and meet up with some like-minded people, it can be a beautiful thing. I want to give a huge thank you to everybody who participated in this event and made it so special, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Eric's Hobby Workshop.